This program lineup is brought to you by Vision Express.
NBC's Wednesday primetime lineup comes into focus with Vision Express. Fast, fashionable, focused.
KUAM TV8, first on Guam. KUAM TV8, home of the Milan Cortina Olympics. Coverage begins February 6th, 2026. KUAM News headlines are presented by Calvo's Insurance, protecting Micronesia for 85 years. Matson and the Adai Itano program. Apply at matson.com and McDonald's of Guam. I'm loving it.
Ahead on KUAM News Primetime.
Smoke may have cleared at GMH, but lawmakers warn the crisis is far from over, with aging infrastructure and limited funding putting the hospital's future on the line. I'm Nevaeh Anderson with the details coming up.
An 8-to-5 voting on Tuesday evening sends $5 million into prison funding. I'm Jonah Charkis, and coming up tonight, details on how the Department of Corrections will benefit from the funds.
And I'm Mitsuki Hirayama with the story as one mayor's office is taking these eyesores into their own hands with their own equipment as abandoned cars continue to pop up on the daily.
Hafa and good evening. Welcome to KUAM News Primetime. I'm Destiny Cruz-Langus. Thanks so much for ending your day with us. An electrical fire at the Guam Memorial Hospital Tuesday afternoon is sparking more than flames. It's igniting lawmakers' call for Adelup to finally fulfill campaign promises, and the hospital administrators hope that both branches can agree GMH is still worth the investment. Nevaeh Anderson reports.
Around 12:20 p.m. Tuesday, smoke was spotted emitting from an electrical room on the third-floor medical surgical unit of the Guam Memorial Hospital. A power fluctuation had triggered a small fire in a breaker unit. GMH Administrator Lillian Posadas.
We contained it, and the FM people came, and we make sure that all the patient rooms were closed so that the smoke doesn't go into their rooms.
Almost simultaneously, a motor tied to the hospital's HVAC system failed on the fourth-floor pediatric unit, sparking yet another fire, filling the unit with smoke and forcing an evacuation.
We had to immediately make sure that we evacuate those pediatric patients away from that area for their safety, particularly because a few of them were on oxygen.
By 3 p.m., the Guam Fire Department had cleared the building and patients were able to return to their rooms by 6 p.m.
You know, we're back to normal, but the concern is it can happen again. And we don't want it to be a major electrical fire. We've been saying that we need to replace that electrical distribution panel, which is the main hub for, the power source throughout the whole hospital.
That panel has been in service since the late 1980s, and it's just one piece of GMH's aging system that Posada says leaves the hospital vulnerable unless significant investments are made. Amendments to the fiscal year 2026 budget now put GMH's allocation at about $60.9 million, short of the $82 million administrators say are needed. Senator Therese Terlahi issuing a statement on the shortcomings saying, quote, "How do we expect GMH to succeed if we cannot give them the tools to fix these problems?" And in a direct letter to the administration, Speaker Frank Blas Jr. and Senator Sabrina Salas-Matanani described the situation as, quote, "a catastrophe warranting a state of emergency." They write, quote, "Our only civilian public hospital is unraveling before our eyes. Its walls are crumbling, its electrical and communication systems failing, fires are igniting, HVACs are shutting down, and its shelves are dangerously bare. The very institution meant to heal our people is itself in need of resuscitation." In addition, Posada says abandoning GMH while waiting for the Manilao Hospital to be complete is not an option.
What if something happens to this hospital? Where are patients going to go? We're fortunate that we have GRMC, but they're also limited with their capacity. So we still need to fund this hospital.
Earlier today, Acting Governor Josh Tenorio and Salas-Matanani visited GMH, with Tenorio assuring hospital leadership that Adelup will help support immediate needs and long-term fixes. So while the electrical fires are out, Tuesday underscores a larger challenge. GMH finally seeing commitments to improvement come to fruition. Nevaeh Anderson, KUAM News.
After days of heated debate, senators put $5 million back into the budget for Guam's prison system, a win for DOC Director Fred Bordalio, who warned just last week that without it, Guam was gambling with officer and inmate safety. Jonah Gacharfaris has more.
On Tuesday night, lawmakers voted 8-5 to restore $5 million to the Department of Corrections fiscal year 2026 budget. The money had been stripped out during earlier negotiations, but senators like Chris Barnett pushed to reinstate it, calling it essential to fixing aging facilities and moving forward with a new prison. DOC Director Fred Bordallo providing a statement after the favorable vote, saying, quote, "On behalf of all of our employees at DOC, the healthcare medical support staff from our partnering agencies who work here, and even the inmates that are incarcerated at these facilities paying their debt back to society, and a large pretrial inmate population awaiting their court adjudication process, our appreciation and gratitude goes out to the senators of the 38th Guam Legislature. We thank all of you for the support of Senator Barnett's amendment that restores to our fiscal year 2026 budget the $5 million allocated for the work to be completed aligned with the Modernization Act for a new Department of Corrections prison." The amendment passed with support from both Democrats and Republican Senator Tello Taidugi. Opponents argue DOC already has millions in rollover funds and an 80-year master plan that's been slow to advance.
Senator Sean Gumatata wants to meet, to be discussing it. And I would see that would be moot. It would be senseless to be in discussions with the senator if you don't have any funding for a new prison.
Office of Finance and Budget Director Stephen Guerrero told senators the contract for modernization was canceled, which is why the money wasn't included in the first place.
You have close to 4 domes right now. Well, one of them, were sentenced in individuals. We relocated them to post 18, but we have the overflow of pretrial inmates that are up here in Manila. And that's really unusual. I worked in corrections in the military, and we have pretrial confinees. We call them confinees, not inmates. They are people waiting to be adjudicated in their court-martial. But once they're court-martial, they don't stay in our facility. They go off to the military prison, which is in Kansas, where Fort Leavenworth is at, right? So and we operate like how the national standards, the correction standards are, how states do it, that the pretrial would be in a jail, in a detention facility, and then once they're convicted, then they'll be sent off to the state penitentiary or prison where they serve their time.
But lawmakers acknowledge DOC's needs are immediate and the risks undeniable.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, it can happen, that there could be a major security breach. Just this last incident where one of our officers was hurt and injured by 2 inmates attacking him, I suspect is testing the security response of our officers. And it really has me concerned.
With the restored $5 million, DOC's total for fiscal year 2026 budget now sits at $35.2 million. Bordallo says the appropriation won't solve everything, but it's a step towards safer, modernized facilities.
I asked the senators to really consider very carefully, what can the consequences that can happen. Now, I've been in the business of over 40 years in law enforcement, military security, corrections, to know the risk and gambling that something major happens, like what happened in New Orleans. I even posted 10, I think, or 11 inmates escaped from a jail that was suffering from the same sort of conditions of inadequate repair. And it just takes one major breach.
The measure now moves forward in the ongoing budget session. For DOC, the fight continues, but for now, the $5 million lifeline is back on the table. Junigan Charfris, KUAM News.
And keeping with DOC, another Department of Corrections officer is behind bars tonight, making the 3rd arrest of a DOC officer in as many months. Corrections Officer Brian Junyoung Cha was taken into custody Wednesday on charges of drug possession and official misconduct. He was booked and confined at the Hagåtña Detention Facility, the same jail where he once worked. DOC leadership confirmed an internal affairs investigation was immediately launched. By late afternoon, Cha, who had served with the department for nearly 2 years, submitted his resignation, which the director accepted. His arrest follows 2 other high-profile cases involving corrections officers, one accused of assaulting a police officer at a Tumon nightclub and another caught smuggling meth and tobacco into the facility using candy boxes. A Superior Court judge has set a September 28 start date for Manny Murciano's murder trial. Even as prosecutors question whether the case can proceed, Murciano is accused of killing and dismembering Stevie Villanueva in 2022. Prosecutors say they may seek dismissal, but Judge Maria Senzan said no motion has been filed and the trial will remain scheduled. Murciano invoked his right to a speedy trial, locking in the September date. He also faces separate drug and weapon charges. And in other news, a major littering issue is prompting one village mayor's office to take matters into their own hands despite limited resources. As Mitsuki Hirayama reports, it's all thanks to their staff lending their own time, energy, and trailer to remove abandoned cars from Jago roadways.
The Jago mayor's office is hitting the roadways, cleaning up the northern village one junk car at a time, using an employee's personal truck and trailer.
It's actually at no cost. My staff is the one who's doing it with his own private vehicle. So, and that's his choice. And so, you know, we're doing what we can. And as far as disposal, so we've been taking them down to DPW. So that kind of helps us with funding.
Mayor Francis Lizama says it all started just before the start of the new school year, after hearing of several abandoned cars near bus stops and along school routes.
Seeing all the messages on the Jago chat, we've been keeping up with all that, and that's where we're seeing a lot of the reports of abandoned vehicles just along the roadway, some as recent as yesterday.
Now they're continuing the effort slowly but surely.
I'd say for the first week, he did about maybe 6 vehicles. And then the past week, I'd say maybe about the same amount because, you know, of course, it's one vehicle at a time.
But the road ahead is looking a mile long. Lizama emphasizes the immediate area of concern are public easements, not private properties. Though another major headache continues to be Chamorro Land Trust property, where she says there's more than a handful of junk cars.
There's 2 properties that in particular, and I've communicated with CLTC on that with regards to one in Matagwak and the other one in Isangsong Mayot. So I'm waiting on feedback from CLTC on that.
Disposal of these eyesores continues to be a challenge for all villages. She says the Mayor's Council put up a bid for transport and disposal island-wide, but that's facing a roadblock.
In order for this program to work, we have to have both. But because there was no bidder for the disposal, we can't move forward on this project. And so, you know, it leaves us to take it into our own hands to do what we can.
For now, her office is doing what they can with the resources they have, even going the extra mile to give owners a chance before they can get slapped with up to $1,000 litter citation.
You know, I like to give the owner the benefit of the doubt. What we do is we get the license plate and the VIN number. We have GPD run them for us. We get the information, and I try to call the owners and, you know, give them that chance to remove it without getting cited.
That effort proving fruitful as 3 owners already removed their junk cars on their own. Meantime, she reminds the community.
Although we all pay the abandoned vehicle fee, the fee that we pay doesn't even cover half the cost of to get it removed. So, you know, again, we try to do our best.
Mitsuki Hirayama, KUAM News.
Democratic Senator Joe San Augustine on Tuesday officially announced businessman and former Senator Dwayne San Nicolas as his running mate in the 2026 gubernatorial race, making them the first confirmed Democratic team for the election. San Augustine, a former police officer, U.S. Army veteran, and longtime public servant, said the partnership is, quote, rooted in faith and grounded in service. San Nicolas, an Army infantry veteran, former school counselor, customs officer supervisor, and owner of J. Goodman LLC, shared his excitement in a Facebook post saying, quote, I want to extend a huge thank you to Senator Joe San Augustine for making my 50th birthday truly unforgettable. I feel incredibly blessed by his faith and trust in me. It is with great excitement that I share Chair, I have accepted his invitation to be his running mate for Lieutenant Governor of Guam. He added, it's an honor to team up with him as we work to move our island forward. I trust his leadership and commitment to the people, and together I believe we can achieve amazing things. St. Nicholas served one term in the 37th Guam legislature, where he championed consumer fireworks legislation. Though he lost his re-election bid in 2024, finishing 17th out of 25 candidates, he now steps back into the political spotlight as part of the 2026 race. Time for a quick break. You're watching KUAM.
NBC's Wednesday primetime lineup comes into focus with Vision Express. Fast, fashionable, focused.
KUAM TV8, first on Guam.
I grew up on Guam. Sports shaped who I am, but representing our island on the national basketball team taught me the importance of community. After 10 years in Hawaii, working at Bank of Hawaii, I came home to give back and to lead. At Bank of Hawaii, we're passionate about helping everyone in our community create a better life for themselves and their families to reach their possible. I'm Mike Sakazaki, and I can't wait to help you reach yours.
Anything's possible.
Reach your possible with Bank of Hawaii.
Welcome back to Primetime. The Guam Education Board tackled a hefty agenda Tuesday night, addressing a myriad of pressing concerns. Among them, how much longer will double sessions go on for? Here's more.
No more double sessions next school year. That's the goal education officials stressed at Tuesday night's Guam Education Board meeting. A committee chaired by board member Maria Gutierrez, tasked with preparing a study of viable options to end the schedules, with findings due in September. One possibility for Simon Sanchez, a previously discussed FEMA project. GEB Chair Angel Sablan.
The governor's office went ahead and told FEMA that we will go ahead and do the 20 classrooms. If we need it for Simon Sanchez, then it will be there. If we don't need it for Simon Sanchez because of the options that Ms. G will come up with in September, at least those classrooms are there that can be used by the Guam Housing Corporation, which is, I think, a part of the FEMA conditions.
Meanwhile, for the FB Leon Guerrero Middle School community, renovations are slated for completion by March 2026. Nicholas Cruz, Capital Improvement Project Program Manager at GDOE, says American Rescue Plan funds are on track to cover the costs, though that does not include the more than $3 million tied to change order number 2.
Mostly they were Typhoon Mauer damages. Majority of it is air conditioning units. When GPA did the scope of work for FBLG, they only indicated units that went down. However, during Typhoon Mauer, the other units ended up breaking. The other one was interior doors damaged by Typhoon Mauer. The beginning of the project, FBLG was broken into, so wires were stolen. That is inclusive of that change order as well, and a bunch of other items.
As for the decommissioned schools, Sablan adds the authority to lease GDOE property rests with the legislature. He also tasked GEB member Dr. Judith Guthards with leading a committee to explore possible uses for those facilities.